Okay, now who likes being uncomfortable? That's what I thought. Nobody. But in this episode, I sit down with Riccardo, who has 20 years of experience in the CRM consulting space. And he said something really interesting to me. He found that the same challenges he faced 20 years ago are still the same challenges that people face today. And that overcoming these are the secret that he used to actually grow in his career. Check it out right now as we discuss how you can too. Let's go. Hey, welcome to this week's episode of Power Talks. My name is Griffin, the host of the Citizen Developer channel, and today I'm joined by friend and special guest Riccardo Gregori. Riccardo, thank you so much for being here. I want to start the conversation really just kind of like letting it all out there and really just ask you, when was the last time you were stretched or uncomfortable at work?
Oh, it's a nice question. Let's separate the two definitions. For stretch, I work in a big consulting firm. No. So challenging situations are on daily basis. A project teams that needs an help because they agreed on a current requirement, they don't know how to do it, or a milestone that is approaching and the team is already stretched and cannot do that part. Actually, the last big one was last December, where we were approaching Christmas, and I joined a team that was working on a project. It was clear that the actual milestone cannot be reached, and I helped reshaping the team structure and reshaping what we had to do in order to meet the deadline. Actually, part of my job is actually that one, helping teams in this kind of situations, trying to avoid the situations to happen and helping teams address them when they happen.
Yeah.
In terms of uncomfortable, actually, those situations doesn't make me actually uncomfortable because I'm used to, we can say. The only situations where I feel really uncomfortable are where I'm involved in something that I don't master, or when a client requests from me a feedback on a topic that it's not in my scope, in my area. And those are the kind of situations that I try to avoid as much as possible.
Yeah. I feel like if you're in a leadership role as well, like something I'm learning about, and I don't know, I feel like just conversations have revolved around this topic, is that idea of like, hey, this might not be my strength, but I recognize that this person has this strength, right? And like, yeah, whether it's, a certain part of the Power Platform or, some people really have, the ability to communicate something really well to the client or whatever. It's like, hey, you go and have this conversation. You go crush out, you go build this component. Like that idea of aligning people's strengths with, what needs to be done. Because I think that's actually a good distinction, because that's so true. Like the difference between, being stretched or being pushed and being uncomfortable, right? Like you can, and I think that's true, and that a lot of our comfort zone is what's familiar to us, right? I think also that's why stuff like tech is so intimidating. I mean, it was for me as well, like getting into, when I first started, like how it can feel really uncomfortable because it is so foreign. But then after enough, at least for me, after enough time, you build enough model driven apps, you build enough Power Automate flows. It's not so uncomfortable building a Power Automate flow now, as a silly example, or having those tough conversations about missing a deadline or being over budget on a project or something like that. Those, I'm not jealous of your job. Those are that's the hard job, right?
Yeah.
What's
It's
go ahead, go
important,
ahead.
the thing that you told before, the fact that it's important to have a team built up by different people having different skills, and also different approaches to the delivery, to the actual mindset that needs to be put in the game when you're working on a project. It's really important. It's what allows you to work in the best way possible towards toward the solution that you have to to work to for your
Yeah.
client. Differentiating, leveraging the best skills of the team, creating a right mix and match between compatibility between team members and uh, different point of views. It's hard, but it's also, I think, that one of the nicest part of the job.
Yeah. I feel like the last time, maybe me answering that first question, the last time I was stretched or uncomfortable, I was recently on a project where it felt like another team member really dropped the ball. In a sense of like they really didn't do a good job or maybe do their due diligence for the past however long, and now it was kind of all bubbling up, and it was being realized like, oh my goodness, this person did not, they weren't on top of it, or maybe they just needed to ask more questions, right? um that gave me an interesting opportunity because it was like at the end of the day we were a team with this person, and it would have been really easy to be like, oh, it's their fault, and like point the finger, so to speak, right? But not only does that not solve anything, right? That doesn't help the problem. Doesn't it doesn't get anything fixed. It also really breaks down the team, right? And now we're divided, right? Or at least that person feels like everybody's out to get them, right? Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
Or what we were trying to balance as well was we didn't want the customer to make it, we didn't want to portray to the customer that we were against each other on the team. If that does that make sense what I'm saying? Like we wanted
Yeah,
to
sure,
make
sure.
sure like, hey, this is, yeah, at the end of the day, this team or this member dropped the ball, but we don't want to let the customer know it's all their fault. So we had to kind of, bear some of that, right? And everything. That was the last time I feel like I was really stretched and uncomfortable, and it was like I wanted to just maybe point the finger or whatever, but it was like, no, we need to, almost save face, so to speak, right? Like we need to um, be one team, get this problem fixed, and not necessarily communicate to the client that things weren't, good, I guess. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Have you ever been in a situation like that?
Yes, yes, of course. And if may I say it, I started working in 2008 in a different era, actually. And here in Italy, we lived a real paradigm shift after the COVID. Because before, for big consulting firms like mine, the actual approach when we hired the new people, new guys, was to work together in our office, in the office locations, and gather the team in one single place in order for a whole team work together and stay strict together. And this approach was uncomfortable from some point of view, because you had to move to the location, to the client location, or to our office to work with your colleagues, but generates a bond between the different team members, a strong bond. And also it generates a general growth, not only by listening to senior people talking to you, but also by the fact that you were working with near other people with a really senior approach on the delivery, and you learned by them just by staying there, even if they weren't talking to you. After the COVID, with the on-working, the forced on-working, the dynamics between the teams changed a lot. we differentiated a lot. All the consulting firms did this, and so those connections between the different people on the same team had loosened. No? And so it happens. The kind of stuff you were talking about before, they happen quite more often today than how it was before. We
Yeah.
were more connected. We had more friendship between us.
Yeah. I think yeah, we could probably have a whole hour-long conversation on that. Just about the difference in team dynamics. I feel like it's really interesting. People like people my friends outside of work always ask me, cuz I mean I work fully remote, right? So fully from home. I live nowhere near an office. And most of my coworkers do not either. And like, so people ask me all the time, what's it like working fully remote? Because I
Mhm.
think it is idolized in a lot of ways of like, oh, those are the cool jobs, right? Like you can go to work in your PJs and whatever. And people that work from home don't actually work that hard or whatever, right? Like all those different things. But for the first like couple years, I loved it. I was like, this is sweet. I love the flexibility, but now I've started to over the last like year, I've started to really start to feel that a little bit, where it's like really my only like friends and deep connections through at work are people that I've met in person, right? So like whether it was for whatever reason, maybe it was a certain project or whatever where we all met in person together and worked together in person. Those are really the only people that I feel like I have really deep connections with at work, you know? Um, I don't know if you have a similar
I-
experience.
in Italy, we used to say that the conversation you have at the cafeteria are have the same importance or are more important than the conversation you have in Teams.
Yeah.
Also with clients, most of the most important discussions are made outside the standard and the official time to do that conversations. And
Yeah.
I do agree. I work a lot remotely too. Mm, all pretty every day. I go to the
Yep.
office a couple times a month, two, three, 4 times a month. And in my opinion, I work a lot more when I'm at home than when I go to the office because, of course, you wake up earlier to you leave after, and you don't have the commute time, and so in that period you work a lot more. And also, when we go to the office, uh, you you see colleagues that you don't see often, and so a coffee, a word, and the time spent actually working, it's a lot less than
Yeah.
the one when I'm at home. So
That's true.
it's fake for the ones that say you are remote working, so you're working less. No, it's fake, totally fake.
Yeah. I think too, it's really something I'm like personally something I'm learning is it's really hard for me to turn my work brain off. So like
Yeah, yeah.
work is done. Say I've a lot of times I like to me and my wife will eat dinner and then maybe we'll go do something or we'll watch TV, if we got a favorite TV show that's on or whatever. And sometimes my mind can still just be thinking about work or something related to work. And it's because like I when you work from home, like you work and like you work and eat and live your life and spend time with your family all in the same area, right? Like it's all in your home. A lot of times there's something mentally about like
Mm-hmm.
getting ready and driving to work, or going
Mm-hmm.
to work and then coming home. Your brain can like flip that switch so then you can leave work stuff at work. And that's something I'm also personally learning. So I think it's really funny you mentioned that, is because yeah, the amount of time my brain is working is probably a lot more, right? Just because you kind of have to fake or like make up those barriers, of like going to work.
Mm-hmm.
And like, okay, I only sit in this chair when I'm at work. I don't sit in this chair, whatever. So that way I know when I'm right here, I'm at work, or something like that, right? So, um, I think those are great. I do want to switch up the conversation though to something you mentioned earlier. Um, you had mentioned when you started back in 2008 how things were different. I kind of wanted to hear more of this story of yours, Ricardo, of how you first got involved in, I'll call it the Microsoft industry back then in 2008 when you started.
Oh, actually, I started with Microsoft Tech a lot earlier because I my first programming language, the first programming language that I learned was Pascal, and then I moved to Visual Basic, and it was 1997, maybe. It's 1996, 7, 8. So Microsoft Techs are part of my skills or my learning activities since I was in high school. But professionally speaking, I started working on 2008. And the first project specifically related to Dynamics, the old Dynamics CRM, was on CRM 3.0, an application maintenance on an already established XRM infrastructure. I would be back to this later, for a client. That project was made by a different consulting firm, not my own, but we took the application maintenance after that company left. And so I had to manage a complex project built on top of the CRM 3.0 from someone else that left one day for the other. And so I had to reverse engineer everything that was done. I had to move forward from that to trying to work on the bugs or new features for the client. And that project was on CRM 3.0, but it wasn't a CRM. And on the 3.0 version, the 3.0 version, we can say it was pretty ugly. But from the 4 version to the current version of the CRMs, actually the CRM was a real good fit. Microsoft CRM was a real good fit to be used as a platform to build processes that are not CRM related. That was because I think that Microsoft understood something at the time. It was that for the CRM processes, each company, each market, each different branch of a single company had its own processes. And so creating a comprehensive CRM specialized for instance, an utility company didn't match the need of, for example, products or an FSI company. And so they created this platform that was easily customizable. Then, when they moved it to the cloud, I imagine that they thought, oh, we can sell it as a platform to create applications. We can sell it without the CRM stuff on. And so the Power Platform was born. But I started my career working with the CRM on something that was not a CRM. And I grew working on pretty always on those kind of projects. The projects where the CRM was used as a platform and not as an actual CRM, not only as an actual CRM. Complex implementation, complex customizations, integration, CRMs that were really well integrated with ecosystems. And so the shift towards the Power Platform in general and all its components for me was pretty natural.
If you are liking the conversation, be sure to let me know by liking the video and commenting down below what it is specifically you are getting out of it. And if you are interested in learning more about the Microsoft Power Platform, you're going to want to click on the first link down in the description down below to get access to a beginner's Power Platform guide led by me. This is a completely free, self-paced course that has hand-picked knowledge, everything that you need to know to be able to go and get your first Microsoft certification as soon as possible. The reality is not a lot of people can say they love what they do, and I feel very blessed to be able to say that I enjoy what I do for work as a Microsoft consultant. And if you want to start that journey alongside me today, be sure to follow and click on the first link down in the description down below. Now let's get back to the conversation. It feels like it's funny you're saying everything you are, because I feel like even though it was what 15 years ago, that a lot of these challenges that it sounds like you were facing in that time are still present today, in a sense of like what the yeah, maybe the technical details of how you solve the problem have changed, but the general challenges that you had to overcome when working with the business or with working with the tech, like are still present. And I think that's really cool and really unique, in that even though like stuff has changed so much, like at the time you were learning how to overcome certain challenges that would serve your career for the next 20 years, right? Like what were some of those challenges that you can think of at that time that are still present today, that can like what are some of those challenges that you had faced, and how do you feel like they help shape your career, even like I said, even to today and moving forward?
First, a funny note. The main issues, the main headaches with the CRM when I started were related on time zone management and multi-currency management. And as of today, the main challenges with projects are on time zone management and currency management. So technically speaking, a lot is changed, but the issue are still the same. But apart from that, actually, the tools supporting our works changed a lot. I remember that on CRM 3.0, on CRM 4, deploying a plugin was something I won't describe you because what was unbearable. On CRM 4, 4 or 3.0, I don't remember actually. But if you wanted to add a customization on the form side, you had to open the aspects page, the actual aspects page on premise, and tweak there your JavaScripts. While now it's everything more straightforward, and also with AI today, we're using GitHub Copilot and so on. You are a lot more in comfort doing that kind of activities. No, the main problem is always what it need. Actually, the main problem is always not related to tech, in my point of view. It's related to really understand the client need. That was an issue before, and it's an issue also today. Most professionals sees the technology as the solution for whatever client problem they may face. But actually, I've seen that most of the time, clients don't actually know what they really want. They tell you a specific requirement, they describe you a specific solution, and ask for a specific solution. But that solution is not what allows them to reach their actual goal. And one of the challenges that I think a good consultant must be able to satisfy is that you should be able to listen between the lines of what the client says, and apart from the technology stack you are using, try to figure out what's the real client need and provide a solution that fits the real client need, not the need that the client is talking to you about. This is a challenge that was present when I started, and it's present still today.
Yeah.
My daily.
I think okay, so I think you're onto something in that and I can personally attest to this as well, in that a lot of times we call them product owners, like the people at the on the client side who's in charge of telling us how their company works and what they want, right? And then we then go and build what the product owners define, right? And a lot of times product owners, or these decision makers, like you're saying, they don't really know what they want or even what they're asking for, in the sense they think they know. But a lot of times you have to ask, well, why? Why are you saying that? Why are you saying we need this to default to this value? Why are you saying that this needs to automatically happen? Why are you saying that this needs to be instant? Like, why like any of those situations? Because I find that a lot of times, like, we need to remember that they're giving us requirements or their business needs through the lens of how they currently do it today, right? And so whether it's they're using, Outlook and Excel to manage everything, and now they're going to be using Microsoft Dynamics, we need to remember, okay, the reason they're saying this is because in this Excel sheet, they need that to be filled out for whatever reason, right? But like, maybe that's not needed anymore, right? Because we're not going to be using that. And so, like, really, like, to use a metaphor of like a car, like getting under the hood, right? Looking at the engine, why, and asking that. I think it's funny. I'm reminded of, like, I mean, I don't have any kids, but I know when I was a kid, I always asked my parents why, when I was like like 5 years old or whatever, right? And so, like, really understanding, well, why do you need this? Why are you saying that this is a requirement, or why are you saying that this is a priority one, has to get done, like, in different things. I think about that, and then I also think about, like, just from a implementation stance, like, these projects are not cheap. Like, it's easy for us to sit here and talk about how Microsoft Dynamics and the Power Platform is so great and it'll revolutionize your business, but it's also really expensive to, like, customize Microsoft Dynamics. Like, bill rates are high, and projects take a long time, and like, it's not cheap to implement a custom Power App or Microsoft Dynamics, um, in the grand scheme of things. At least, maybe comparatively it's reasonable, but it's expensive. All that to say, I think a lot of times product owners as well can get so hung up on a little detail of, like, hey, we need to do this. And sometimes, as, like, being on the delivery team or being an architect, you need to think about, like, okay, well, this requirement is going to take 40 hours of work, and 40 hours times this bill rate is really expensive. Like, is this worth, like, is this, moving this from here to here on the screen, is it really worth, the time we're going to put into that, like. So I think there's kind of two things you have to balance in fielding those requirements, and is absolutely, I feel like the working with product owners is the natural challenge of software. It's just like, that is the challenge of what we do, is working with them. What's your experience with that?
Yeah, you pretty the same. You asked before, how did those challenges shape my career? No, I always uh, think thought about me as I was a techie guy. I always loved technology, but when I worked on my early projects, I found that often the technology was not the solution, and addressing the right questions to people made really a difference in the outcomes, in the time spent working on a specific topic. And so I try to balance in my daily activity my techie version that wants to do something in Visual Studio as soon as possible whenever the client asks for something, and my other half, the other half of me, that that thinks about, is this worth it? It's actually worth it. It's this what the customer needs actually. And I started training myself on asking more on talking more with the client and try to put myself in the client's shoes in order to actually see the things how the client sees them and try to get the maximum from the time I spent near the monitor, because it's expensive as you said. The daily rate, the hourly rates are expensive, and so it's important to reach more value as possible in the same time. So I worked on both parts, no, the management part, the consulting approach, and the technology approach, because as I said before, also the tools were important, and 15 years ago the tools were pretty absent. And so I started working also in that part in order to help other people, the people working with me, and also other part of the community to avoid facing the same struggles and the same challenges I had to face.
Yeah,
So it's a duality that I think that it's important to face today if you want to improve your personal standing and your personal brand.
totally. No, I think that's awesome. I have another topic I want to get to as a part of the conversation today. Not to take anything away from what we're talking about, but to shift us to another topic.
Mm.
I always love being an MVP is not a requirement to come on the show at all. I love talking to all sorts of people, but you are a Microsoft MVP, I believe, just this last year. Is that? I mean, correct me if
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
wrong, right? You became one
Correct.
this last year. What has what has this kind of meant to you? And I guess my follow up question is going to be is like why do you enjoy so much about sharing with the community? I find more and more that most MVPs are like, I just was sharing with the community and then I became an MVP. I find a lot of people really just want to give back to the community that's maybe given them so much. What's your experience? What's being an MVP meant to you?
It's actually an honor for me, basically, being MVP. I said before that I started working with Visual Basic in 1997, 98, more or less. And my first approach was, of course, self-study on the technology, but I followed a bunch of people that had a page called visual-basic.it here in Italy. It was a Visual Basic community managed by MVPs, and those guys were helping a lot the community with newsletters, forums, and so on, to address the challenging of an early development in Visual Basic, in what was once the platform before .NET, before everything. And I saw them as a guiding light. Whenever I had any problem, I could post something, and they will answer me. Sorry, and so for me, they were gurus, and I had always the desire to join that specific group to give back what they gave to me. No, and even when I even my last 10 years of career, I always try to spread knowledge in my group of people, in my teams, my practice within my company or around my colleagues of other companies about best practices, tools, or correct approaches to do something. Just remembering that group of people that helped me when I was starting. And finally, last year I had the opportunity to submit for the program, and I've been accepted. So it's an honor for me, and I like to spread the knowledge to help people work better with the technology, and that's my aim.
Yeah.
It's not mandatory because you can do the same without that tag, but for me it's nice. it's a nice piece of crystal in my
For
near the
sure.
glasses. Yeah.
For sure. For sure. What can you share more on your philosophy of balancing your passion for tech with actual, work life balance, I guess. Like you mentioned as well, like you have such a passion for tech. It started, sounds like, back in high school, or if not before. Like, how do you balance, and we talked about, being able to turn your brain off after work as well. How do you balance that? How are you managing your passion for tech and your professional responsibilities?
Oh, it's
Or
quite
are you not?
it's
Or are you like, I'm not managing it? I don't know. I'm not.
uh, no, it's quite hard because I'm married. I have a 7 years old daughter that requires attention, and I love to give her attention, to my wife attention. So it's always hard to balance these two parts, important parts of my life. Actually, the fact that I'm working from home typically takes my head on those topics. I mean, I stop working officially, but when I'm having dinner with my family, I'm thinking about that specific activity I did today that can be improved if I only have this kind of tool. So maybe after I put my daughter to bed, I go back to my PC and start working on that. And so basically, the idea is family is important. Family is as important or more important than my work from my point of view. So I try to dedicate to commit to my family whenever I can. No? When my family is out of the game, when my daughter is sleeping or it's at school, I try to dedicate as much as possible to my job and my passions. Of course, I do also some other activities. I like to skate. I like to do something else, but mainly uh, I love my job and I love the activities I do uh, after my job. So I focus on that whenever I can.
Yeah.
It's hard, but family is
Yeah.
important.
For sure. For sure. And you've mentioned, I know, like a part of your intro and getting to know you as well, like building different tools for the community. What has that experience been like? How do you get the inspiration of like, oh my goodness, I want this tool. Let me go and build it and, get it on the marketplace or sharing it. Like, what's that, I guess, the quick run through of that process for you of building tools? Because I think that's super cool. Something that is not something I've done. But I do think that that process of building tools and sharing it with the community is really special. And I guess I'd love to hear kind of your stance on it.
Yeah. Typically, the main reason I started building tool is because I'm lazy and I get annoyed pretty soon. Whenever I find something in my daily activities that I need to do twice or three times, and they are equal each time, or repetitive tasks, repetitive activities, I get bored and I prefer start writing something that does that boring job for me. So all my tools started from an actual pain I had on a specific project, or after working on a specific project, working on opportunities for client or for myself, and started to address a problem that I had, a recurrent problem that I had. And starting from them, I thought, why not to put those tools available to someone else? Maybe it can solve someone else's problem too. The XrmToolbox is it's a tool that I love, and the idea behind that toolkit, it's brilliant. I use a lot of tools, and I thought that it was a nice way to collaborate, to spread awareness to the community about the fact that you can work better with the platform. The platform does a lot of stuff, but there is room for to work better with the platform, and so that's why I start creating the tools and start spreading knowledge about my tools.
Definitely. No, I think that's awesome. We're about at time. So I think we can wrap up our conversation with the after hours happy hour. And it's funny as we're at the end of this conversation talking about balancing our passion for tech and our professional life. When I first asked you what some of your hobbies are, you had told me that your problem is that your work is your hobby too. What are some things that you like to do outside of work, Ricardo? I mean, you mentioned you love roller skating as well, with your daughter, and I mean, who's Ricardo outside of office hours?
Oh, I like to roller skate, as I said, and I'm a father of of a 7 years old girl, and I try to involve her also in my passions. We started last week. We started building a small game together, yeah, at the PC, so we can join my passion for the technology as her passion for games, video games, and so on. We skate together also, and I love to go swimming at the sea. Here in Italy, we have beautiful beaches, beautiful sea, and so the sun is shining today, and I'm looking forward to go on vacation in August,
Yeah,
to be back to my family in Abruzzo. I'm based in the north of Italy, Milan, and all my
yeah,
family is in Abruzzo, in the center of Italy. So I will move back for 1 month, more or less. We go to the sea
nice.
together.
Are you gonna be working during that time, or are you like taking a
Yeah,
month
yeah, yeah.
off and
No, I will work also from there.
gotcha? Yeah, that is a huge bonus of working remotely. Here in a couple weeks, I will be out. My wife's family lives out in California, and so we're gonna be out there for a week. But I'm taking some days off, but I also am not taking the full week off. So, but that's just the nice flexibility of take the laptop with you, and
Yeah.
be able to do some work, but also unplug and spend some good time with family. Do you like to travel? I feel like I'll say this too, as an American, Italy is like the bucket list, one of the bucket list places to go. It's like, all right, we need to go to Italy and hit all the places. I mean, are you just like spoiled with amazing food and amazing cities and things to do out there? I mean, what's it like? Do you like to travel, or are there, or are you
Yeah.
already like, nah, I live where everybody wants to travel, so everywhere else is boring? What?
No, no, no. Italy is beautiful. We have a lot of different places, different locations with their specialties. But as a European, I think that looking at different cultures, it's important for my personal growth, for the personal growth of my daughter. So I try to travel whenever possible. I went on Rhodes, Greece, in June for 1 week with my family.
Nice.
Then we went in Barcelona this year. Last year we went in Berlin. It's important. Italy has a lot of nice cities, and I invite you here whenever you want.
Yeah.
If you come in Milan, feel free to reach me out. I will guide
Yeah.
you here near the lakes, Lake Como, or the other lakes that are
Yeah.
around here. There
Yeah.
are a lot of beautiful places. I don't know if you know that, but in Lake Como, it was shot a scene in Star Wars: The Phantom Menace.
I actually okay, so I had some friends recently. They went on like a 5-week trip, and they went. I couldn't even tell you everywhere they went, but they went to Lake Como. Like that is familiar. I'm recognizing you saying that, and I feel like they were telling me about how it was in some movie, or I don't know if they said Star Wars or what. I don't remember, but I have heard about that, and that it's beautiful up there. I was gonna ask you two one final question. What's the most like underrated place to travel in Italy? Like what's the place people overlook and you're like, oh no, this place is really special to go to.
Underrated. Oh. Abruzzo. Yeah, Abruzzo.
Why?
It's a region in the center of Italy. It's outside the main touristic routes. When you think about Italy, you think about Florence, Venice, or the other Rome, of course, Milan. But Abruzzo is a small region that has really nice mountains for the winter, a nice sea for the summer, and there is also nice food, of course, nice wines, as always
Yeah.
in Italy. And there is a place where in winter you can ski looking at the sea.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
you're
Very cool.
going down to the going down on the mountain, and you see the sea in front of you. It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Very cool. No, that's a pro tip. Thank you for that. We are at time, so I wanna wrap up our conversation, man. Ricardo, thank you so much for being here. And just the time I've been able to have getting to know you and your passions and everything. If people were listening to this conversation and were positively impacted or wanted to get in touch with you in some way, what would be the best way for them to reach you?
Uh, Feel free to reach me out on LinkedIn. I think that you can drop down my contacts, and don't forget to mention that you see about me in this video in order for me to have some
Yeah.
context about the connection. But
Yeah.
LinkedIn is the best place.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll have a link to that down in the description down below. So thanks again, man, for being here, truly. And thank you to you for sticking to the end of the video. My name is Griffin Lickfelt, the host of the Citizen Developer channel and Power Talks podcast, and I'm excited to connect with you in the next one.